Hi folks, this is my early on day 6 of the Colorado Trail. I'm supposed to say howdy y'all actually, but hey, whatever. Let's see, but I want to go back to day 4 and then maybe yesterday. Maybe that's a separate video, but let's talk about day 4 because I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I started out in a place called Long Gulch Trailhead and ended up at Dead Man's Creek, which is about a 19-mile day. And it was a pretty eventful day because I ended up talking with a lot of different people that day, which I hadn't been doing that much, just a little bit of things here and there. But first, I was right at the edge of the Lost Creek Wilderness, and so you go back in there. The trail goes in for a bit, comes out for about 10 miles, and then goes back into the wilderness. I preferred this wilderness much better because it had these very nice glades of aspen trees and meadows and flowers, and so it was really nice. It was still moosey, but I never saw a moose, unfortunately. Really kind of bummed. But there's more trips left. Actually, somebody saw a moose yesterday that I camped with, so I just missed them, a mama and a baby. Anyway, so that was cool. When I got out of there, out of the wilderness, there was a creek, and I thought about getting water there, but decided not to. But there was a family there and a guy that I had met, I think on day 2, briefly. As I was walking by, he was setting up camp. I said howdy. He said, hi, what's your name? I said, David. He said, I'm Guy. And then he seemed to have kind of an accent. It sounded French. So I asked, are you from France? And he says, no, Israel. And I was like, oh, sorry, I guess I really shouldn't just guess and just ask. And he said, no, people do that all the time. So I guess the accents are pretty similar. I'm not sure why but anyway, so he was there talking to that family, and then he said, hey, David, I'm gonna be leaving in a few minutes. You want to walk together? And I was like, and I thought about it, and I was like, well, actually, no, I kind of want to really move on quickly. And so I went ahead, and the reason is I was trying to cross Kenosha Pass before the storms came in, or potential storms. And so I didn't really want to wait. But as I just had a mile to go, and then I was going to get some more water. And so as I was hiking that little bit, I realized, I really should hike with him. So when I got water there, I would hope that he would come up and I could say, hey, you want to walk together after all. So at that water stop, that next creek where I was going to wait, or try to meet up with him, there were actually some cyclists. I'm gonna switch hands here. Keep my fingers on the frame. There were some cyclists that were doing the Colorado Trail bike packing, and it's a race, and so that's pretty cool. And so I was talking to one, and then a couple others rode up, and then Guy showed up, and we talked a little bit. One of the cyclists was wearing this fox costume. It was like a red jumper, and it zipped down, so he had it unzipped because it was getting kind of warm. And then he had a tail on, and then little ears on his helmet. And it turns out he's the founder of this company called Embark, or they make a product called Embark, which is some sort of endurance formula with electrolytes and calories and stuff like that. And so he was talking about that. And their logo is a fox, and so that's why he rides this fox. So I got a picture of him. I'll figure out maybe how to splice that in or something. But so he was a character. Guy came up, we talked, and was like, hey, I'd love to let's walk together, and that'd be good. And so we did for a while and talked, and he was a really nice guy, really young. He's about ready to go to school for psychology and literature. I didn't actually ask how old he is, but he did part of the PCT and done the Colorado hike. But he's a thinker, And like he, at one point, he said something like, if I feel like we need to walk in silence, then I'll suggest that, and very politely, and he did that at one point, so it's cool. But he had one interesting thing where he was saying he's really been thinking about his equipment and how he doesn't like that he's got a bear canister and he doesn't need it and it's heavy, and this poncho that I guess he likes, but it's heavy also. I mean, it's like one of those Mexican like wool ponchos or something. And so he was going to change that, and he's been thinking about it over the hike, and he was like kind of missing out on the current hike because he was not paying attention, or he was thinking about that, not necessarily enjoying the hike as much. And it's like the hike is now here. It's not after I solve the problems, then the hike begins. It's right now. So that is an interesting thing to think about. I also talked with him a little bit about how I was trying to decide, how am I going to track this trail? I mean, what do I want to get out of this trail? I definitely want to push myself, and I think regardless of what way I do it, how many miles a day or whatever, that will certainly push myself. But, I always like to kind of see, how hard I can push. But it would also be nice to take more time, go to some of the towns, visit with more people, talk to people like him. And so I haven't fully decided, but I did have had more interactions with people since then. So, maybe it's a little bit both. And let's see. So we talked, and then at one point, before we got to the top of the pass, he said, well, I want to stop and eat and meditate, which I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he was like, it'd probably be about 30 minutes or more. And it's like, with the storms coming, I decided, no, I didn't want to wait. And so I pushed on. And so I think he was also going to go into Fairplay. And I could have done that, right? And so I chose not to. Fairplay is a little town, which you can, stay at. I think he was planning on getting a room or a campsite or a hostel or something in Fairplay. So, and we could have split a hotel room or something like that, but I wanted to push on. And I really kind of wanted to get to Breckenridge in this first push without a resupply. So I was going to kind of decide if I got to Kenosha Pass and the weather was good, I could keep going. Then I probably would do that. That was the sort of the last point. And the other approach I could have done was just go into Jefferson, which is another town very close there. Pick up some lunch maybe and resupply and do that, because I was running a little low on food to get to Breckenridge, at least based on what I planned. But I'm not eating all of it, so I do have some extra food, and so for today, I should be fine. I only have like 10 total miles, or 10 and a half miles to Breckenridge today. Well, anyway, so got to Kenosha Pass, and after leaving Guy, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes, I went to the Kenosha West campground, and because on Far Out comments, people had said that Smurf is the camp host there. That's his trail name. And he's really good at hikers. You can throw away your trash. He's got water. He's got sodas. He'll do food sometimes. There's a hiker box, which is a box where people ditch stuff they don't want, and then you come through and you can take it if you need it, and put things in there that you don't want. So he's got a hiker box there, and so I kind of wanted to meet him and then also get some water and stuff like that. So we got there and met him. He was an interesting guy, and so we chatted a bit, and so that was fun. And then he got a ride to the store. I guess he doesn't have a car, and so then so he had to leave. And I did run into another bike packer that was doing the race to Durango, and he was pretty cool, so we chatted. And then let's see, so rest of the hike, I don't remember anything particularly memorable off that. And when I got to Deadman's Creek, and there's a campsite there, a lot of dead trees around, And it's one of these group camps they have. There was a big fire pit and logs around it arranged, like, you know, it looked like a party campsite. And I'm always nervous about those because you don't know how people camp, and are they doing leave no trace, and are they you know, going to the bathroom all right next to it, and cooking in camp, and you know, you're gonna have bears that are habituated to getting food at these campsites. So I'm a little leery of these group campsites, and so this was one of those. I looked around for other places. There really wasn't. There was one I kind of thought you could kind of clear it out and make one, but I chose not to do that. And so despite the dead trees, some of the dead trees, and despite some of the you know, the fact it's a pretty well used campground, I decided to camp there. You know, and that's what most people are doing. It's all fine. So, you know, and campsites are tough to find a perfect one. And there's always dead trees. It's impossible to find a campsite without dead trees, it seems. So as I was about to set up camp there, another hiker came up. She was Mirta, is her name. She's from the Netherlands. And so we chatted for a bit. She's done the PCT. A lot of people have done the PCT here. And so we chatted, and then a little bit later, another guy named Anthony came in, and he camped there. He'd also done the PCT. In fact, he had been doing it this year. Had spent like 5 months on it, and couldn't go through Washington because of the wildfires, which it's terrible. And in fact, a lot of the places, and one of the fires that Pam and I, when we were there earlier at the beginning, when was that? Middle of July, I guess. It was the Pioneer Fire. And it was somewhat contained, and there was some evacuation, but it wasn't too serious, it seemed. Apparently that one blew up. And and then also there's one in the North Cascades National Park. And anyway, lots of fires. So he came off the PCT and decided to do the Colorado Trail. So we talked quite a bit, and that was cool. And let's see, so what else? It did rain a little bit just as I was trying to cook dinner. What I had been doing is like come in, set up the fly for my tent. There's a word for that kind of tent where you can set up that part and then set up the inside separately so it can be out of the rain. And so I'll set up the fly first, cook dinner, and then go in and set up my tent and everything. That time I did not do that because I was talking to Mirta, and it started raining right as I was ready to fix dinner. So I had to just basically get in my tent for a while it rained. But it stopped. It was short. And okay, wow, that sounds terrible. We'll just do it this way for a bit, I guess. I don't know if that works. Whatever. That's not so bad. Let's see. Next. Oh yeah, so quick dinner. Wasn't great, wasn't really feeling it. It was too much. So I ended up having to not finish it all. And I didn't really heat the water enough. And because I'm doing, well, that's another story. So I have to pack that out, which is kind of worse because it's probably heavier once you add the water. Even if you eat half of it, it's almost certainly, okay, that's just not working. Heavier than it is before you've added the water. So, oh yeah, so spent the night there. We had a thunderstorm come in around midnight. Pretty loud thunder, some close lightning, not crazy close, but close enough. It didn't ever get too windy, so that was good. But it just got everything really wet and kept you up. I mean, it went on for like an hour maybe. So I think that's the end of day 4. So talk to you soon.